I've had lunch there so much in the past years. If I can have a meeting there.
So Natural Forces, we're a wind farm development company, and we're based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we essentially develop, construct, own, and operate wind farms across Canada. We're a smaller company. We're a team of 8 or 9. We're privately owned, and we tend to focus on smaller-sized wind projects. And in the province of British Columbia, there's a program that enables or that invites developers to come and build and develop these smaller sites. So essentially, it's a policy that's kind of brought us into British Columbia. The policy of building these smaller wind farm sites.
And so this program really is kind of our niche market, these smaller wind farms. And so really it grabbed our interest to develop in BC just for that specific program. And this specific site, well, it's got excellent wind resource. This site that we've chosen is far from homes. We think it'll have pretty minimal impact on viewscape from people's homes and houses, and from an environmental aspect, we're doing the studies right now, but from initial desktop studies, it seems to be a pretty good location for a wind farm.
So this location, I guess there's a few different reasons. Number one, it's a great wind resource. The piece in general is windy, but this area in particular is very good wind resource. The site. It's on Crown lands, but it's away from environmentally sensitive areas, and it's also away from population. So there's not many houses surrounding the site.
What do you see? So you profile the wind based on elevation, basically. So you look at 40 meters, 60 meters. The turbines could be anywhere up to 120 meters in height. So you try to optimize where your hub level of the turbine is going to be. You can't put it too high if it's really windy, otherwise could be catastrophic. So you work closely with turbine engineers to you basically maximize your electrical production. Yeah.
Wind actually usually picks up in the winter. The air is a little bit denser, so it's usually better for wind farms in the winter. But no, I think overall yearly the wind resource is pretty good in this area.
I mean, we're saying approximately 10. We think it'll be approximately 10 turbines. Essentially, it's actually going to be, the site is made up of 10 turbines, but it's actually going to be 2 separate wind farms owned by 2 separate companies. And the reason is because the grid connection to connect to the grid is very expensive. And for a small site, for 5 turbines, it wouldn't work, but 10 turbines is enough to make that expensive connection work. Yeah, I mean, essentially it's two companies that will own approximately 5 turbines each. And they are, currently we're working together, but when the end result will be 2 separate wind farms, but right next to each other. For all intents and purposes, it looks like 1 wind farm. And we're right now we're presenting it as 10 turbines owned by 2 different companies. Well, I guess the number one for us and for a lot of people who are here is that it's clean, renewable energy. It's non-polluting. BC Hydro in the province has quite a bit of. They're lucky they benefit from a lot of that clean energy. But the BC Hydro needs more power. And we'd rather see clean, renewable energy added to the grid system instead of something like a coal plant or such. So that's the biggest benefit that we see and that we hear from the community as well. That renewable energy is good. It's we're all aware of climate change, and we want to make a difference. And this wind farm will make that difference. Yeah, I guess you could say. If you talk about it in megawatts, so essentially the project, it'll be 10 turbines will be about 30 megawatts, so each project will be about 15 megawatts. So a ballpark figure for the cost of this is about $3 million per megawatt. So we're looking at close to $19 million for the project in total. Revenue, the approximate revenue that we'll be paying to the district would be, I mean, ballpark, it'll be about $190,000 for the first year, and then over the course of the wind farm's 25-year life, it'll be about $2 million. So that's per project. So $2 million for one project, $2 million project. So essentially for 10 turbines, it'll be about $4 million in total going to the district over the course of 25 years.
We really want to engage and talk to the community. We want to get feedback from everyone. Like I said, we're not from here. This is a project that's going in someone else's community, and we want to make sure that everyone, gets their questions asked and gets answers to all their questions, and make sure that everyone's comfortable with it. It's a big concern of ours, and we hope that the community feels free to and feels comfortable to come and talk to us with any questions or concerns.
Oh, I mean, it's so far so good. We've spent some time over the past 6 months or so just getting to know some of the community members, and I mean, we've had great support from local businesses, from residents who live nearby, from First Nations. So far, we've had very good support for the proposal.
Hi, I'm Diana Canning, and I'm a resident that lives about 16 kilometers down the Sekunka towards Tumbler Ridge, and we're really excited. We're getting some windmills up in the bush behind our place, not quite by our place, but across the other side of Dickenbush Creek. It's not really going to change the landscape too much. You might be able to see it from different parts of the highway, but this is kind of exciting. I think it's a really great move. I'm all for wind energy.
Well, I think so far we've had pretty good reception from residents who live around this site, from Chetwynd down to Lone Prairie and along Highway 29. This is the first meeting we've had, the first public information session we've had to kind of present the project. And so far we haven't had many complaints or many people with issues regarding the site. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty positive. I think it's more of an education sort of thing too. Like, people see them and they know the size of them, they know the impact, they realize that it's not going to be clearing like hundreds of acres of land. It's pretty small footprint, and it gives them an idea also of like the noise that it produces, and how it can be seen in the viewscape and how it may affect that aspect of things. And I think it is kind of it's a good way to see them and for them to realize that you can have a wind farm as well right close to a city, and everyone is happy about it.
We put a 60-meter meteorological tower up, and we test the wind for a couple years, and then we have a consultant do a wind resource analysis, which kind of maps the terrain, and so there's various aspects of that, mass maintenance. So we have one on the Zonnebeck site right now. It's been up for I believe about 2 years. It's in a clear cut, so when we install the mast, we try to any type of project infrastructure, we try to minimize the impact. So this was put in a clear-cut area so that we didn't have to clear any trees for the installation.
There is questions and concerns I have, of course.
There's been a lot of questions, a lot of good questions, and so far I think the feedback's been pretty positive.
It's beneficial for the taxpayers because it's we are paying a mill rate.
And some of them would be kind of out of sight, but there's a few that may be visible from here. We're not quite sure at this point.
They know about the land, they know these hills, they know these mountains, they know more than anyone else.
These outdoor enthusiasts know that their hike will be enjoyable. It helps that they are prepared for whatever adventure awaits them. That means planning ahead, before you even step outside. Plan a travel route. They are going to www.adventuresmart.ca for a sample trip plan. Make sure you carry the essentials: extra food and water, emergency blankets, first aid kit, sunscreen, fire starting kit, enough clothing for an extra day, and flashlights. After checking the weather forecast and letting friends and family know how long and where they are going, these two are ready for their hike. You wanted it, you got it. Chet TV is happy to bring back Moccasin Flats to its regular programming, and it gets better. My Peace Country home, Pioneers of the Pine River Valley, is returning as well. This time with over 30 minutes of bonus features, including interviews, archive footage, and music. Chet TV on Bell 655, Eastlink Channel 40, and on air on Channel 55. Chet TV, your station.
Well, really, the reason we're here is to, number one, present the idea of this project or these two projects to the community. That's number one. Tell the community, show the community what we're thinking of doing here. But the other big benefit, or the other reason we're here, is to invite the community in for us to learn about the communities that will be surrounded by these turbines. Learn about land use. The wind farm is on Crown land, so this is an opportunity for current Crown land users to come in and start that dialogue with them to understand, to ensure that any impact to existing users is minimized.
Hi, my name is Darren Wonky. I have lived in Lone Prairie for 34 years. I don't really know how they will affect me. I don't know if I'll be able to see them because they are not up. There is questions and concerns I have, of course, on what they will do to my range tenure, or will it affect me in that way? Will the extra traffic flows be something? Will Chetwynd benefit from this? I don't know.
Essentially, it's beneficial for the taxpayers because it's we are paying a mill rate. The owners of these two projects.
My concerns with ranching where they are talking to put these wind farms is probably the higher traffic flows, the maybe taking away from some of my grazing or fencing or along that lines.
It's been a lot of questions, especially concerned about exactly where it's going. But once mostly people figure out where exactly the location is, there's a lot of the worries kind of fall. It's not going to be too close to homes, the noise might not be an issue, or probably won't be an issue just based on the location of it. There's been a lot of questions, a lot of good questions, and so far I think the feedback's been pretty positive. We've talked to a lot of locals, like not even just at the meeting, outside of the meetings, and we've been meeting with a lot of people, and so far the reception's been pretty positive. So.
Yeah, one concern that you do hear often is the visual aspect. This region is a beautiful region. There's nice empty mountaintops, and that's really that's another reason why we chose this area, is because it's windy. It's not the windiest area, but it is windy, and the turbines themselves are not up on the higher mountaintops. So we recognize that people do value that scenery, and some people may not want to see turbines up on the ridges. So where we've located turbines are actually quite lower down. It's still windy enough to make the site economical, but that's another reason why we chose this site. Yeah.
Noise is one of the issues that has come up. A lot of people have been worried about property value. where the projects are closer to homes, within a kilometer, or some projects that I've worked on or that I've seen develop not from natural forces are, they're 600, 500 meters from houses. That's a big concern for people who live near the wind farms. So for this project, it's a bit different. Wildlife is a huge one. A lot of people are very concerned about the wildlife and how it's going to affect it. But usually once they see the environmental studies and the work that we're putting, the effort we're putting into these studies that we're doing, it's usually, people realize that it's going to have a low impact on the wildlife and property value and noise. But, yeah.
In this area especially, it's great. There's a fair amount of wind energy projects around here, so everyone's very knowledgeable about them, which is good, and they support the projects, which is great to see. And then, working with people who have existing licenses to use the area for grazing, whatnot, and just working closely with them to make sure that you're not impacting any of their activities. So that's why, that's one of the reasons we hold these open houses is to.
Yeah, well, there's a couple reasons. Definitely one, this project is going in their community. It's not, we don't live here, it's their community, so we want to make sure that they're all right with it and they're, happy about the location, and make sure that when they're driving down the highway, they're going to be content with where it is. And, it's super important to us to have that interaction and make sure that the community kind of feels like it's part of their community as well. It's a big idea for us to have them accept the project, especially where, like I said, we're not from here.
Yeah, essentially, we hear job creation. Like people recognize that this is a form of development, and that there will be job creation. So we have many contractors coming to us expressing interest in participating in the construction and operation of the site. The fact that it is renewable energy, people recognize that the Peace region does have a lot of oil and gas development, and they see renewable energy as a good thing, a good complement to that. Tax base, I think the municipality and the regional district are very supportive because they recognize that this is another form of stable revenue generation for the municipality, to support the services that the district and the municipality provide.
So this is our site. So Zonnebeck is located near Lone Prairie, and there's going to be 5 towers that are owned by Natural Forces.
So there's several ways. We have the website. Right now it's called the Zonnebeck Wind Farm .ca or .com. That's up and running right now, and there's a comment form that they can fill in, and it goes directly to us, and I can answer it within hours or minutes. There's also my email at apellerin@naturalforces.ca. There's a toll-free line for 1-844-422-WIND. So that's a toll-free number that they can call anytime, and it'll go directly to our office. And extension 211 is my direct extension, and they can call anytime, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. And so really that's how they can contact us. And we're in the area pretty much, every month, and Lynn is here, so, there's several ways that they can be heard.
So we're about halfway through the environmental work.
There's questions about caribou and birds and bats and things like that people who grew up in this area are worried about.
This is one of several meetings that we'll have in the community.
So I don't think you're going to see a lot of uproar over this particular project.
When the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor, they upset our thinking about a great many things, including Alaska. The great Japanese air and naval base at Paramushiro was only 750 miles from Attu. Attu was only 1,200 miles from the mainland of Alaska. And Japs in Alaska would be a direct threat to the west coast of America and also to the interior. With Canada's consent, the United States War Department decided to build a military highway from Rails End at Dawson Creek, British Columbia, to Fairbanks, Alaska, to link up and supply these airfields and to provide emergency access to Alaska for troops and materiel.
Tourism Dawson Creek official film The Signal Corps and Chet TV presents a 1-hour special on the new tour of the Mile Zero Alaska Highway that is coming to Dawson Creek. Watch a presentation on the new tour, explore the routes, and hear the experts highlight what to look forward to. Watch a short movie on the highway produced by Signal Corps and learn about some of the books that chronicle the construction of the Alcan Highway, available at the Pine Tree Bookstore in Chetwynd. Stay tuned to Chet TV Channel 40 on Eastlink, 655 on Bell, and 55 on Air.
You wanted it, you got it. Chet TV is happy to bring back Moccasin Flats to its regular programming, and it gets better. My Peace Country home Pioneers of the Pine River Valley is returning as well, this time with over 30 minutes of bonus features including interviews, archive footage, and music. Chet TV on Bell 655, Eastlink Channel 40, and on air on Channel 55. Chet TV, your station.
Warren Fowler, and I've been my family moved into the valley in 1963, and I've lived either in the valley or close to it ever since. If you look right past the end of the mountain there, right past those taller green trees, that's the area that they're going to put them in, and it's back there about 10 kilometers roughly from here in a straight line as the crow flies. And some of them would be kind of out of sight, but there's a few that may be visible from here. We're not quite sure at this point. Well, this project is not really in the valley. It's kind of out of the valley. It's quite a ways away. There's a couple people that will be able to see some of it, and but it's in general, it's not right in our face like the original project. They talked about 47 turbines right in a big semicircle right around the north side of the valley, which was, and you know, some of them were very close. It would have been a real major impact. So this one is kind of, from what we understand of it so far, they're talking just several turbines, and they're quite a ways away, and it would be a fairly minor impact as far as we can all see. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of uproar over this particular project.
They know about the land, they know these hills, they know these mountains, they know more than anyone else, you know, so it's important for us to know what's on the land, what it's being used for, who's been using it. You know, maybe there's a cabin in the area, maybe there's a trap line, maybe, you know, someone's using it for cattle. So it's really important that we get also all that information that we can't find online just from the public, so that we can design the best project that'll work with the community and their needs for their use for the land.
Well, this project, the proponents appear to be talking to people right up front. The last one, we knew nothing about it till it was, you know, a lot of the permitting processes were done. It was actually quite a hostile environment between the residents of the valley and the company. And this one, they appear to be wanting to get input from everybody and get everything lined up before they start. And they seem quite willing to address people's concerns, so it's quite a different scenario.
So we're about halfway through the environmental work. We have to write what's called a development plan. It's essentially like an environmental assessment, and we're about halfway through that. So we've done bird studies and bat studies and ungulate work, and so we're going to continue with that work throughout the summer and fall, and into the early winter. And the study should be completed. Most of the field work should be completed by winter. We use a consultant here, and who are here at this meeting, and some of the guys that are out in the field doing the work, they actually said it's the most boring job they've done. So that's good for us. You know, there hasn't been any red flags, and it's quite a lower environmentally sensitive area. Yeah.
I work with a consulting firm called Hamera, and we do environmental permitting and assessment. So I work with them as a biologist and a project manager. So my role in this project is as a project manager, and then we also have our team of biologists and socioeconomic folks who are working on it. And our role is to put together the development plan, which is part of the permitting that we need to do with the province. So I think it's valuable for us to be here as representatives of the proponent Natural Forces in case people have questions about the environmental surveys that we're doing. There's questions about caribou and birds and bats and things like that that people who grew up in this area are worried about and want to make sure that their project's not going to have negative effects on. We can talk about the work that we're doing to investigate those potential effects, and also talk a little bit more about wind in this region. We've worked on quite a bit of the wind projects that are in the Peace region, so have kind of a general knowledge of the wind industry in the Peace as well. So for a project like this, we would start by looking at the big picture, and then we would focus in and identify what we call our valued components, which are basically for environment, the species that we think could be affected by the project. So we focus our studies on those. So the studies that we've done to date have been some ungulate and fur bear winter tracking. And we're also doing migratory bird surveys. So that's looking at how migratory birds fly through the area. So we do those in the spring and the fall to capture both directions. We do breeding bird surveys to get an idea of what birds are breeding in that region. Watercourse surveys, and we've had bat detectors up since the spring. So those are passive acoustic bat detectors, and we take those down in October. So we do close to a year of bat monitoring as well to see what the bat activity is like in the area.
If you were to look at the visual renderings, so you'll notice that this tower here can be only vaguely seen from roughly here, but you can't see the rest of them. And if you're around here, you can vaguely see this tower. So they're not, it's not right in your face. So you can't, I don't believe at this point in time where we've currently expected the towers to go, you can't see every single tower from any one location. So it shouldn't be too much of an impact visually.
There could be others.
And look, you get $200,000 a year in municipal tax revenues.
Yeah, so it's still pretty early days. I like to say it takes about 5 years to get a wind farm up and running. And we're about year 2 or 3 right now, so we'd like to think we can start construction in 2017 and hopefully have the site up and running by 2018. So it's still early days. This is the first of a few public information sessions that we'll have, so yeah.
Yeah, so a project this size usually takes about 5 years to build, so we're really early stage of the project. We've set up a test tower to test the wind speed and direction, and we did that in 2014, so that was really kind of the first stage that I worked on. And then from that point, once we know that the wind speed is, it's viable for a project, then we come and talk to the community. But this project, we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of environmental work. This is one of several meetings that we'll have in the community. So we're expected construction 2017, operation 2018 is sort of where the timeline is now. So quite a few years to go.
There will be, there needs to be rezoning for the area, so there will be, there's a municipal process that we'll have to go through for that. There's a process we're going through with Flinroe, so there's a provincial permitting process because it's on Crown land. So those two processes, those two approvals will come next year, mid-next year. And those are just two of many permits and approvals we need. So it's not really, it doesn't really come down to one approval. It's essentially many approvals over the course of the next 2 years. So, we don't know for sure if this is going to happen until you see the turbines coming down the road on the trucks. So it's still long term and there's still a lot of risk involved. But we hope by 2018 we will have those turbines up and running.